My very first job after graduating from college was as a sales representative for a major academic publisher. I used to call on college professors, and I remember being so intimidated because they were so much smarter than me. I was also intimidated by some of the colleagues that I work with who had fancy degrees or lofty titles. Quite candidly, I was overwhelmed. And then one day the light bulb went off when I realized I just needed to be myself. I needed to focus on the skills that I could improve and enhance so that I could do better both in my business life and personal life. Hi, I'm Dean Karrel, and I'm very thankful that the industry leaders has invited me here today for this short masterclass on the top 20 skills I think we all need to focus on if we want to be happier and more successful both in business and in our personal lives. I spent more than 30 years with a major global publisher as Senior Vice President of Sales. I've interviewed, hired, and trained hundreds of sales professionals and worked with thousands of other colleagues in big organizations. Today, I'm a career development advisor, sales trainer, the instructor of 14 courses on LinkedIn Learning, and the author of Mastering the Basics. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be talking about these top 20 skills and also include some personal stories along the way. So without further ado, let's get started. The first skill that I like to focus on is emotional intelligence and people skills. All of these tie in together with soft skills, social skills, people skills, but emotional intelligence is being aware, showing care, showing compassion, showing empathy, and actually understanding and trying to understand what the other person is going through. You know, this is a topic that first came into bear when Dr. Daniel Goleman published his book, Emotional Intelligence. This is a massive bestseller on the topic, and I'd urge you to take a look at it. There's also another great book by Dr. Travis Bradberry called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. There are some terrific courses on LinkedIn Learning that you can watch about emotional intelligence, but at a minimum, do some online research on the topic. That's how important I believe it is. The second skill is also closely linked to emotional intelligence, and that's being curious, asking good questions, and listening. You know, as a salesperson through the years, I've heard that's probably one of the skills that buyers dislike about salespeople the most. We don't listen. But that's true no matter what profession we might be in. You know, too often we're so ready to give our response to somebody who's talking, they were not really listening. Listening is showing respect. It's showing care and understanding, which again links very closely back to emotional intelligence. The third skill is one that's very difficult, and everybody always talks about it. It's like, believe in your abilities, be confident. Well, quite candidly, it's not easy. You know, the trick is, you know, there are highs in our career, there are lows, and in our personal lives too, we have that roller coaster of highs and lows. The trick is try to keep it steady and stable, but that's not easy. You know, in my example there, I talked in the introduction about my first course being in the publishing business. I keep a note in my wallet, and this is shortly after I graduated. And I remember it was tough, and my confidence was rocked. And I have a little note. I'm going to spare you the date because it goes back a long ways, but it says, Dean, remember this date. It wasn't too good. Come back and make it. You know, it's a little piece of motivation that I give to myself because there are moments when our optimism and our ability to be confident does get rocked. And so people say to me, Dean, well, why do you still have it in your wallet? Well, there are times when I do refer to it again. You know, I wrote that in my early 20s. Well, I remember when I changed jobs in my 30s and I said to myself, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And my confidence was rocked again. And I refer to that note. I told you for more than 30 years, I worked in the publishing business. When I left that 6.5 years ago, there was a moment when I said, what the heck did I do? I had this great job. I traveled the world, and now I'm doing something different. Well, my confidence was impacted. So although we always talk about believing in our abilities and having confidence, there is and are times when we don't feel at the highest part of our game. And it's okay. You just need to find those ways to rebound from those difficult times. The fourth skill that should seem obvious, but is something that is very important to talk about, and that's being ethical and honest. Seems like a no-brainer, right? But how often have we encountered people who don't always tell the truth? Do you ever not forget about these people? Do you ever trust them again? If your ethics and your honesty is ever in doubt, it's going to be difficult ever to rebound from that, if ever. An example there is, we often see politicians or people in business who get accused for something and they deny it. And they say it never happened. And then 3 weeks later, they may hem and haw. And then, a month later, they're, on camera in tears saying, I never meant to do it. Well, the smart thing right from the beginning is just be honest. Sure, we might all fudge things every once in a while. We may take some shortcuts, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't work. And you will be caught by it, and you'll be flagged by it, and your reputation will be forever tarnished. So just be honest, just be open, just be ethical. That's my fourth skill. The fifth one is being coachable, being able to be trained. It's being able to accept criticism, both good and bad, for how we can improve. Too often we say, yes, I'd like some constructive criticism, but we really don't listen to it. So the trick with being coachable and training is actually listening. Again, going back to that skill, the importance of listening and getting advice from people. It's looking for a mentor. It's hiring a coach. It's working with a trainer for how we can improve our skills. You can't do it yourself. Sometimes we may need to go back to school, or we may need to take special training sessions. Do it. It's very critically important. I use a phrase, and we've all heard it's called always be learning. At the later stages of my career, I went back to school. I was, again, in publishing for a long time. I'm starting a new career. I went back to New York University, and I took courses in coaching and human resources management and working with others. How exciting and invigorating that was. It re-energized me for this new path in my career. So always be learning, always be looking for new opportunities to find new ways to develop your skills. Number 6, again, seems simple. Be positive, be easily motivated and optimistic. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's easier said than done. I'm actually a really optimistic and positive person, but there are moments when it is difficult to do that. But don't you enjoy being with people who are upbeat, positive, and optimistic? You don't want to hang around people who are negative. At least I don't. Now, it's tough to be that way all the time. And those who are a positive 100% of the time are probably not telling the truth. But you need to work on ways to be optimistic and look for the bright side of things. Not every day is going to be perfect. Not every day is going to be a ray of sunshine, but you need to find those ways to be positive. And those are my top 6 picks for now. So we'll continue with number 7, and that is character. I think character is the core of who we really are. And I believe in that so much. There's a great quote is that character is how we act when we believe no one is watching. And my illustration with that, it goes back a number of years when I used to work in New York City, and I went to the same busy coffee shop every day. And there was one day where I was dressed casual. I didn't have any appointments, wasn't seeing any clients. And I was at the coffee shop, and it was a day everything was out of sync. They were getting behind on orders, and people were getting a little frustrated. And there was a guy 2 people in front of me in the line who started to get angry. And he said he had an appointment to go to, and he said they should hurry up. And I finally said, enough. Hey, buddy, take a breath. They're doing the best they can. Well, he got right back in my face, and thank goodness the coffee was quickly delivered, or could have escalated even worse. Well, lo and behold, 2 hours later, a hiring manager for another department of the company came to me, and he said that his boss was out for the day, and he was hoping that I could interview a candidate he was seeing just to get a second opinion. Well, you know where this is going, right? So the hiring manager brings in the guy from the coffee shop, and he looks at me, and the hiring manager says, Dean, I'd like you to meet John Doe. And I said, oh, we've met already. And I said, hey, how was your coffee? Well, the poor guy turned white, but it is a great illustration of how you act, and his true character came out that day. Now, lo and behold, he turned out to be a really nice guy that I got to know later on, and he just had a very bad day that day. But always remember, your character is always on display. Number 8 is being authentic and genuine. I talked about this in the introduction where I said I just needed to be myself. Life is a lot easier that way if you're genuine, authentic, Just be who you are. Every time you try to fake it, it comes across, I think, many times like being phony. Be yourself, be authentic, be genuine, be real. Makes life a lot easier. The ninth skill is prioritizing and keeping things focused. How many courses and how many articles have you read on this topic where we all talk about we need to be more focused and we need to prioritize things better? Easier said than done. I found that I just need to do it. I need to keep things in line and focused and simple. If I have a to-do list of 20 things, I do get overwhelmed. For me, the advice I give is focus on the top 3 things. What are the 3 things I need to accomplish today, this week, and this month? And that way, when you check them off, you feel good about your accomplishment, and then you can move on to the next priority list. Number 10, honor your commitments and follow up. How many times have you asked somebody for a favor or asked them to help you out with a meeting and they didn't fulfill their commitment? What do you think about them, right? If you say you're going to do something, if you say you're going to honor something, honor a commitment, or do some follow-up to assist with a project, make sure you fulfill on that obligation. You will always be remembered if you don't. It's a simple thing, but how many times do people actually forget that or don't give that full commitment at 100% level? Number 11 gets a groan out of people every time I say it. Every time I say the word networking, people go, ooh, networking. I hate networking, or I'm really not good at networking. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I love networking. I love meeting people. But too often we assume networking is when we go to a meeting and we wear a little sign that says, hi, I'm Dean. Or we go to a meeting and they have a thing on the agenda that says networking break. Oh my goodness. Yes, those are difficult. I'm just talking about reaching out to people, staying in touch with people. You know, I have my courses with LinkedIn Learning, and that became the be because of my networking with somebody who I used to work with years ago. She had posted something on LinkedIn and I commented on her work and how much I agree with it. And then she said, well, lo and behold, Dean, I now work with LinkedIn Learning. And I was wondering if you would be interested in doing some sales courses. It's just staying in touch. We stayed in touch and it opened up an opportunity for me. Focus on finding 2, 3, 4, 5 people that you can reach out to again and just talk about what they're working on. Emotional intelligence, being aware, listening, and that is a great way to find new opportunities and why I believe networking is so important. Number 12, communicating and collaborating. How many companies have you been in where everybody's in silos? Oh my goodness sakes, enough. People, we all need to work together within our companies, within our organizations to find ways to work with our customers, clients, or whatever it may be. Collaboration, understanding and learning what marketing does, what IT does, what sales does, what finance does. That can help separate you and make your skills better than anybody else in the company if you focus on the collaboration and communicating with others. Number 13 might get a groan out of you also, but I think having a basic understanding of finance and how to do a P&L is essential. I don't care if you're in marketing, sales, IT, operations, or whatever, you have to have a solid understanding of the finances of the company you work for and the finances of the department you work for. You can't keep spending money. It won't work. You have to understand what the profit objectives are for your company, what the revenue objectives are, and what the impact is on pricing. I'm not saying you need to be a CPA, you're not training to be the CFO, but you have to understand a balance sheet. You have to understand how to do a basic P&L. There are so many courses that you can take on non-financial management for financial management for non-financial managers. It is a very valuable course for everyone to take. The next one is number 14, and that would be embracing new technology. Now I'm going to sound like everybody's old uncle here, but when I first got into business, my technology was a desk calculator and a typewriter. Yeah, that's how long I've been around. We didn't have cell phones. I love new technology. I love the new technology from whether it's mobile devices, whether it's laptops, tablets, or whatever it may be, and the software that's available for it. Embrace new technology. It's always going to be developing and always going to be enhancing our work. Number 15 on my list is something that the people who have worked with me through the years have heard me talk about so many times. It's a mantra of mine, and that is the importance of research, planning, and preparation. Let's look at research first. I think it goes back to emotional intelligence again. It's taking the time to learn about somebody, doing that research to find out about their background before you've actually met them. What easier way to do that is then to go on LinkedIn and just look at their profile, see where they used to work, see what they're commenting on, see what they're posting. Also, look at their social media sites, see what they're doing, seeing what they're saying, doing their research and finding out maybe what conferences they go to, things that they enjoy doing, so that when you have that meeting, you have a conversation piece to be able to work off of. Then it goes to a plan, doing your planning and having a strategy in place of what you want to accomplish, whether it's a small, not really overly important meeting or one that's a critically essential one. It's having a strategy in place, that planning in place before every meeting, and then doing your prep work. It's being ready, having a thought plan in place of what you want to accomplish. Research, planning, and preparation, and the dedication you give to that, I think could be so critically important. And for me, I think it's at the top of the list what has helped me throughout my career. I'm going to sound like everybody's old uncle here, so I'm sorry, but I'm a big believer in number 16, and that is a strong work ethic. Now, does that mean I'm asking you to do 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, always to be on call? Absolutely not. No, I think you need to take your days off. I think we need to take all of our vacation days. And I also am a big believer, if you're having a bad day, you just pack it up and take the rest of the day off. However, when you are at work, I think your full 100% commitment to your job is so critically essential. Number 17 is something I'm very passionate about, and that is the importance of working globally, also learning about things globally. I've been very lucky. I say this all the time, so lucky over the course of my career that I have been able to travel throughout the world, from North America to Europe to Singapore to Australia. I've worked with business people and salespeople and worked with clients in all these different countries, different cultures, different religions, different races, colors, creeds, sexual orientations. And I realized, you know what, we are different, but there are so many things that we do have in common. And we need to learn about those things. I think that's probably one of the critical issues that impacts all of us around the world right now is ignorance. We don't understand other cultures, religions, and so on. And we need to take that time to do so. A funny story with this, though, as a side note, is a number of years ago, I was in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, which is a melting pot of different cultures and religions and people from around the world. And it was one of those evenings I went out for a beer at one of those little outside restaurants where you could do a lot of people watching. And by far, I was the only American there. It was terrific. And I saw different families arguing and bickering. And it looked like just my own family. You know, when we're on vacation, we all have those moments and, you know, husbands and wives bickering and then children are yelling. And there was one situation where this gentleman, he looked like he was from a Middle Eastern country. And I couldn't understand a word he was saying, but his kids were going, obviously they were saying, daddy, daddy, daddy. They were tugging at his leg. And he had this look on his face of like, oh my gosh, the last place you wanted to be was there. Well, when he came by me, I took my beer and I went like this to him. And he just looked at me. And it was the universal language, two different religions, two different cultures, but we connected as dads saying, I understand what you're going through. So a little light story there, but again, try to travel globally, learn about other cultures, learn about other religions, learn about other people. It can be so important. And as we grow as a global economy and global business, can be so critically important in the development of your career. Number 18, problem solve and handle pressure well. Easier said than done. Boy, is pressure tough sometimes, right? It can be overwhelming. And learning how to manage that is a skill that takes time. I remember early in my career, I would have panic attacks, worried about how to get things done, how to get something accomplished. And that pressure can be overwhelming at times. So read about that. Ask for guidance. Ask your manager, read about it, learn about techniques that can help you overcome the stress of your job and overcome the pressures of your job so that it doesn't wear you down. Which links closely then to number 19, which is it's okay to ask for assistance. Boy, sometimes we say, I can handle it, I want to do it myself. But the best people raise their hand and I say, I need help. I need some assistance right now. That is both with our work and both with our mental health too. It is okay to raise your hand and say, I need some assistance right now. Again, I showed you earlier, that note in my wallet. That was the assistance that I gave myself a number of years ago. I probably could have used professional assistance back then. And it just wasn't done back then. But now, raise your hand. If you think you need some professional guidance, ask for help. Over the past year or 2 years that we've gone through this whole COVID situation, a lot of people have gone through some mental health issues, whether they're working from home, our families are all together in one small environment, or living alone, being alone. A lot of people have gone through some mental health issues. It is okay to ask for assistance. Please do that, or reach out to others who may be in situations where they are vulnerable. Look out for your friends, look out for your other colleagues, but be sure to look out for yourself. And my 20th, boy, oh boy, all right? We've gone through 20, and that is accept change and be resilient. What's the hardest thing to go through is when you have a set path in place and all of a sudden things change. Have we gone through change over the past few years or what? We were all working in offices, or we were all commuting, and now it's all up in the air and everything is being done differently. Change is a part of business. Once you think everything is going to be set in stone, well, things do change, and you have to be able to accept that, which ties in with resilience. Resilience is a topic, and there are some great courses on LinkedIn Learning about resilience, how you can be resilient, improve your resiliency. And I think that is an important number 20 strategy of my list. I'm going to come back with some final thoughts in just a second. So that is my list of the top 20 skill sets I think we should all work on to improve both our personal lives and our business lives. I've learned these things throughout the course of my career from the people I've hired, the people I've trained, and from good managers and good mentors that I've worked for. They've taught me these things and they've helped me out throughout my career. What I would recommend for you is take my list, modify it, add ones that you think that you want to improve. And over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, look for ways to build and grow and develop those skills for yourself. All of these things lead to building a solid reputation, enhancing your credibility, integrity, and character. All of these are the foundations for a solid career in business. And speaking of your career, now as a career development advisor, I meet many people who are in a variety of different work environments. I've been actually pretty surprised at how many people are in unhealthy and even toxic environments. Years ago, the philosophy was stick it out, work harder, work with your HR department, work with your manager to try to make things work correctly in your current company. Well, my philosophy has changed that now. I think if you're working so hard to develop the skills that we've talked about today, I think you should be in an environment that appreciates that, takes advantage of your strengths, and utilizes you in the right direction. So look for the places and look for the opportunities that treat you properly. Now, I'm not saying you need to leave your job today or try something new tomorrow. I think your strategy is to develop some paths of action. The first path, of course, could be to stay the course. Do work with your HR department, do work with the manager, and see if there are ways that you can make your current career situation work. The next is looking for an opportunity in your current company. Look for good managers. See who the people who are enjoying working for. Find the right leaders. A good leader, a good manager, a good coach can make the world of difference, and many of them may be in your own organization. If that's not the case, then do look outside. That's why networking is so important. Ask what's going on at other companies, explore opportunities, and see what's out there. The last path is more disruptive, and that's where you move in an entirely different direction. Ironically, that's what I did. I worked for a company for more than 20 years, and I said, I'm going to do something completely different. I went back to school, and that's what I do now in coaching and training. So explore those opportunities, if you think that's right for you. I'm going to finish up with 5 final lessons. Dean's thoughts about business, my strategies, my ideas and traits, and it all begins with be good to people. How hard is that? Reach out to others, motivate, encourage, be there to help them and assist. Be there to be a good person. It's not that hard to do, and the dividends that come back are enormous. It'll make you feel better as you help others. The next one is, and it may sound funny, but smile and say hello. I remember working in a corporate setting where people would walk down the hallway and wave and smile, but there was always 1 or 2 people who would just have that stone face. And I wanted to say, smile, say hello, be happy, enjoy life, enjoy your work, and be good to others. So smile and say hello. Talk about an old school thought and strategy, send thank you notes. I do it all the time. I can't tell you how many times people have reached out to me through the years and say, Dean, I still have that thank you note you sent to me 20, 25 years ago. It's thanking people for the work they've done, showing appreciation for a good sale, a good project completed, or whatever it might be. I do it the old-fashioned way. I still use pen and paper, but do it by email or just pick up the telephone. But tell people thank you for the work that they've done. Next, of course, is always be learning. We've talked about this. You know, if you're 22 years old and just out of college, your education, your learning has just started and it won't end for 22, 42, 62, and 82 years old. We are constantly learning and developing. That keeps you happy. It keeps you developing. It keeps your mind fresh. And it's also fun and invigorating. So always be learning and always be looking for ways to enhance your skills. And lastly, know your priorities. Find out what really matters in your life. And remember, family comes first. If we've learned anything over the past few years of what we've all been through, it's that our families are so critically important for our happiness and growth and success. So believe in that. Families come first. So I want to thank again the industry leaders for inviting me today. What a terrific opportunity to talk to you today about skills and how we can develop and grow. Please follow me on LinkedIn because I talk often about business-related issues and sales-related topics. So again, thank you so much and all the best to you for career success.